Good evening, everybody. I am your host, AdrianJWilliams here, live from our studio. And today,
Everybody. I am your
God,
host.
that's repeating itself. And I'm going to be talking about. I'd like to introduce you all first and foremost to my new show, the Adrian Show, live here from my new company, WilliamsTV. Obviously, some of you may recognise me back from the days of Williams Media. However, I am now back in the broadcasting world, and I will be delivering you entertainment, analysis, and all the rest of it. So tonight, what we're going to be talking about? Well, there's a lot going on in the UK at the moment, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So as we can see, in the government, we've had scandals, resignations, chaos, and more. So join me as we delve into these topics tonight. Well, obviously, first and foremost, the most obvious point to discuss, or the elephant in the room rather, the main scandal has occurred recently, as we have seen, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding the prosecution service. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with what happened, essentially there was I think it's the chief of prosecutions who had to there's been a number of resignations. I think it was the chief of prosecutions. Attorney General. Ben Hathaway resigns over a case being dropped. Now, the case in particular was against someone known as the Hierarchy. I believe the case was over charges of corruptions and essentially what happened was I think there's some connections there between the individual and the government, and the Attorney General seemingly mysteriously dropped the case without pressing any charges on any individuals at all. So there was no explanation there. It was just dropped, and that raised many questions within the UK. People asking, why has this case been dropped? Well, after a bit of digging, it appears that obviously these connections here with the individual and the government and the justice industry have made many to wonder that perhaps all is not as it seems, and there could be some underlying personal and interests relating to people's friends, with sort of one rule for them and one full rule for the rest of us. That is right. People reckon that there's a bit of stuff going on at the top there, with people letting their friends off with stuff, and obviously us, the people, are not particularly pleased with that. So, and you would think, well, okay, there's quite a lot going on there. I mean, and then Ben ended up resigning from his role as Attorney General following the leaking of all of this to the press, and the press sort of digging into it, and people coming out and speaking against it, and government MPs and so on, or not government MPs, sorry, parliamentarian MPs speaking out against it. However, it was dropped, and yes, it is a curious deal, but the Prime Minister did end up coming out and condemning the actions of the hierarchy. However, he also did mention that he recognised his amazing service within the role. I mean, I don't really know much about it. I've only recently returned to the UK within the last week or so. However, it is a name I do recognise, and I'm sure that is very true. But is there place for corruption in this country's justice system? Evidently not. But that is not the only resignations we've been seeing recently. No. There have been many resignations within the House of Lords, leading many to wonder what is going on in the House of Lords. Well, no one really knows, and neither do I. But it does seem rather peculiar to myself and to many as to what is actually going on there. There's also been a petition asking to remove a certain member of the House of Lords, which is, of course, none other than that Donut Dev, from his role as a Lord, which I'm not quite sure why the petition was started, or why it has gained so many signatures. However, it's gained the most signatures under the new petition system, and may possibly have even beaten um, signature numbers as well from the previous system as well. So yeah, many are wondering. I mean, I'm not really sure why the motion was started in the first place, but it is interesting. I have no idea what's going on there. But anyway, it's very interesting as well because the Lord himself has signed his own petition asking for his resignation. So yeah, that's an interesting one. He's decided to sign a petition to remove himself. Oh well, I'll let him get on with it. But it is got signatures from many prominent individuals as well, such as the leaders of multiple parties. I believe Michael Rothschild is in there, and I believe the Right On, obviously leader of the National Party, has also signed it as well, from what I can gather. I think Speaker of the House, Dean Heathcote, has also signed it. So there's a lot of people signing this petition. I think it's become somewhat of a joke in some ways, but it is rather entertaining at any rate, I'm sure. Um, Looking in the chat, apparently someone has said the parliamentary admin DM'd all the lords telling them to touch grass, and some of them listened. Leading as a possible reason there as to why they've all resigned from the House of Lords. But it is yeah, it is crazy. They're all just dropping like flies, and yeah, well, I suppose we might not have a House of Lords of this, right? You know, it's like Tony Blair coming into Roblox. What the hell? Anyway, um, yeah. So that's essentially that. Let's have a look through what else is going on. There's been well, I've just noticed there's also been a new petition calling for an election as well. However, that is only received 3 signatures so far, so I don't think that is going particularly far at the moment by the looks of things. So there is that. Also on the agenda as well for tonight, well, it looks like there has been quite a lot going on in the House of Commons too. So it's not just the House of Lords that's seeing a lot of stuff. Well, obviously, the main area to start off with would be the infamous failure of the government's budget in the House of Commons. That is right, the government's own budget has failed in the House, where they allegedly are supposed to have a majority. So either there is a lack of confidence in the government there of its own MPs, or none of them can just be bothered to turn up to Parliament, which is kind of a bit shocking, to be honest. I mean, if you've got a genuine reason not to, but that's fair enough. But I think the people would be probably wanting MPs to turn up and actually vote on their own bills. And if they're voting against their own bills, that just shows the state the government is in. Evidently, there was not much faith there in that budget. So it's never a good thing when your very own budget fails the House of Commons, which you have a majority in. Wow, that is not good. So that is, yeah, I'm not too sure how that even managed to happen. Like, a budget is a big thing. That's like failing your own King's Speech with your if you had all your MPs there. That'd be crazy. Anyway, what else has been going on in the House of Commons? Well, it also seems there's been quite a bit of unprofessional behaviour from various backbenchers, including government backbenchers, as recently pointed out by the National Party initially, and sort of seconded by the Social Democrats as well, as pointed out in the UK Discord. So we can quite clearly see in their political channels, such as various government backbencher MPs just trolling in the back and talking about 6-7 and deporting various MPs and spamming Grammarly adverts in there for some reason. And also talking about sending trillions of pounds to Israel, which is of course very professional behaviour from the House of Commons, I'm sure. So yes, the House of Commons is in a state, the House of Lords is in a state, And it looks like the judiciary is in a state as well. So our legal system's in a state, and the government can't pass their own bill. Wow, what a shocking dilemma we are in as a country. Well, there we go. Hopefully things improve with things and so on. But we shall see. We shall see. I mean, the government do have. I mean, they've only just been elected recently within the last. Well, I suppose it's almost been a month now, hasn't it? But they still have got time to redeem themselves, I suppose. I mean, but at the moment, I don't think there's much faith within where things are headed in terms of the well, Parliament for a start, and their own ability to pass bills through it, and corruption. I mean, gosh, it seems to be scandal after scandal after scandal at the minute, ladies and gents. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear all of your thoughts about it. It'd be great to hear what the people think of what's going on. So put your own comments in the chat if you want to, and we can perhaps read them out at some point as well. I can see there's quite a lot of activity there, which is great. But yeah, so there's, oh, we have Dat Donut himself here, the man who is being called to resign on by, I think 80 people now, or 81 possibly. I mean, again, I think the petition's a bit of a joke, but it is quite funny to see such like a massive signed petition just to remove someone from the Lords. Which is also quite suspicious. Like, I don't know, it's not really suspicious, but it's kind of a coincidence as well that everyone else is like leaving. But yeah, so I'm just looking up the stats for the budget. It does look like it was quite a close vote, so it was 18 to 16. So it wasn't quite as much of a like shocking rebellion against it, so to speak. But it's still quite a blow to the government, really, for them to be, losing their budget in Parliament. I will say. So it will be interesting to see what comes up moving forwards and what their next proposed budget will be, because obviously they've got to put something forward. I mean, the country can't just function without a budget. That would be silly. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where things go with all of that and all the rest of it. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on it all, dear viewers. It'd be brilliant to hear what's going on as well. Whilst I'm here as well, I might also mention the news that the National Party of New Zealand has just elected John Kennedy as their Prime Minister following a landslide victory. So that is interesting news there, that the National Party seems to be doing quite well in New Zealand. However, it's not just New Zealand where they seem to be going up. I think in the latest polls released by BritBox, I think they did make a few gains there as well, and I believe the Social Democrats, Ballot Box Britain, rather, that's the correct name, sorry. I believe they've made a few gains there as well. I think the Social Democrats have made quite a few gains, with quite a few Union Party losses, and also government Greg's Party losses as well. So it does seem that the National Party seems to be doing quite well. There was a GB News poll recently as well that put them up by 5 seats, taking the Greg's Party down by 6, and Social Democrats again making quite considerable gains at 4 votes as well. But yes, that is the current polling by the looks of things. Also, somewhat recently as well, the Minister of State for Transport resigned allegedly for breaching ministerial code. So again, another instance there of government people doing things that are a little bit questionable by the people. And I'm sure, everybody wants a unified government is delivering for the people as well. However, his successor was recently appointed as well, which is Daniel Hunton, MP. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, but he does have a background in the industry, so he might perform a little bit better, having previously served as a flying officer within the RAF regiment in the Royal Air Force, as well as a firefighter within the London Fire Brigade, and is currently also serving within the Metropolitan Police. So he does seem to have quite a bit of experience in that area, so hopefully he'll be able to do good things there, but whether he'll be immune to government scandals remains to be seen. And given the way things are going, well, I'm not too sure. But hey, we'll see. He's still got a little chance, hasn't he? There's also been controversy as well. This is going back a few more days, but with defenceless criticism, as the Prime Minister stated, against the royal family, which has increased over the previous month. Apparently, the leader of the Voice of the Republic Party within Northern Ireland, of course, suggested the idea that the royal family is not welcomed in Middletown. So there we go. There seems to be a bit of anti-monarchy sentiment there being growing in numbers, which obviously goes against what this country's all formed on. But anyway, I suppose people are entitled to have their views as such, but whether those views are justified or not is another question. On a more positive note, however, in terms of what's been going on, or not really necessarily positive, just general discussion, I suppose. The Civil Aviation Authority was recently established following, obviously, the bill that went through Parliament to enable its creation. So, I've had a little look into it, and it appears that they are going to try and offer private pilot licenses to people going forwards. Could this possibly mean that the just your average Westbridge person, your average British person, could end up potentially acquiring some form of light aviation, probably given the facilities within Westminster, probably no more than a helicopter, I wouldn't have thought, but potentially it looks like they could be laying the groundwork for private aircraft ownership. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Obviously, they're already establishing rules for emergency service ambulance or aircraft, such as the London Air Ambulance and police helicopters as well. But that could potentially be maybe up to the public, or just maybe private companies, who knows. But it does look like there could be some increased aviation over the skies of Westbridge going forwards. So we'll see how that all goes. In other news as well, the Chancellor of the Exchequer recently announced today, about an hour and a half ago actually, that what they're going a new motion going forwards to essentially streamline the trademark process. So what they're going to do is that I think they're going to get all of the existing trademark holders to re-register their trademarks through the Treasury, and then we'll essentially go on a purge of all the other ones to sort of remove all of the inactive trademarks have been registered by inactive businesses and deregistered businesses that they just forgot to take off of the database, which obviously shows that they haven't been doing too well there. But it seems to be that they'll be moving in the right direction, so they can sort of declutter the trademark realm, which I think we can all agree is something that needs doing, because if you're sat there and you're just scrolling through a Trello or a spreadsheet or a database or whatever of various deleted inactive companies, then that's not the most entertaining thing you could be doing with your time whilst you just sat there looking for something. Oh, there it is over there. So by removing the inact, and also it could be confusing as well, because if you want to introduce your own new trademark, then there's not really much room to if it's or it can be quite confusing if there's one that you want to register and it's allegedly registered but you can't because it's actually, well, you can, but it's actually been deregistered, but you think it's still registered, then that could be a little bit confusing. So I think it's safe to say that is ultimately A good thing that has come out of the government lately amidst all of these scandals and the chaos and the corruption that is going on. I'm sure no one here is a fan of the scandals as such. I mean, gosh, justice, eh? Quite ironic. Injustice within within the justice department, but here we are. I mean, in some ways, I do wonder if there will be calls for that case to be picked up, since it seems to have sort of been brushed aside by the scandal of itself as well. Like, if you see what I mean, like it's people seem to have forgotten about the fact the case has actually been dropped. More attention has mostly been focused on the fact it's happened, but I wonder if there'll be calls for the case to be re-picked up, since obviously it wasn't justified to drop it. So I'm sure there'll be many questions raised there as to reopening that case, and I do think that might be something that should be looked at as well. But yeah, anyway, that seems to be the most things I can find out about it. But yeah, that's that, and a lot going on. There is a lot going on at the minute. But it does seem that they're passing quite a bit of legislation through Parliament, with the exception of the obvious budget that failed. So yeah, we shall see. But I'm pretty sure there's also someone else that left the thingy, the judiciary recently as well. That was unrelated to the current ongoing investigation, but it does highlight. Sorry, I'm going to try and figure out who it was again. But it does highlight the inefficiencies there, as to why the the inefficiency that, because essentially, sorry, it's the director of public prosecutions, Maxwell McKennell. So I was trying to look for who it was, but essentially what happened was he asked to resign from the CPS about sort of at the start of the month. So 1st of October. This is long before the scandals happened. Long before then. But he submitted his resignation to the Attorney General, who was obviously at the time Ben Hathaway, who's just been removed. I think it was Ben Hathaway, wasn't it? Just double checking that. Yes, it was. So he submitted it to Ben Hathaway, who's obviously the gentleman involved in said scandals. So it was. He did it for personal reasons, administrative reasons, and was unrelated to the ongoing scandal at the moment. However, upon his resignation, the Attorney General was like, "Well, mate, stay on for a little bit longer. Yeah, look for a replacement." And he was like, "Okay, I'll do that." But there's only so long he can stay on for, realistically, as he's got other things to do. And basically, he had no communication at all or whatsoever from the Attorney General regarding his resignation. There was no effort to sort of replace him. He was just kind of left on his own to, right, well, I'm going to take things into my own hands and just outright resign. And off he plopped. So it looks like that this is not the Attorney General's first failure as that massive scandal. It also looks like he can't sort out hiring staff to replace his departed staff, shall we say. So there we go. But yeah, it does look like the Crown Prosecution Service and the legal world is a little bit chaotic at the moment, so to speak, shall we say. But yeah, that's kind of all that's going on, really. I think that's all I wanted to talk about tonight, the main sort of scandals and so on. So thank you all for tuning in, of course, and supporting the company. It's been brilliant to have you all on the Adrian Show for the first time. Obviously, if you'd like to get involved with WilliamsTV, the new company, then there'll be opportunities to host shows or so on for experienced people. The Discord server is linked in the description of this stream, so join that if you're interested in potential careers, shows, or maybe even interested in me covering an event of yours or you're involved with as well. Or maybe you're just interested in appearing on an interview or dialing in to one of our broadcasts at some point. If you're interested in any of that, obviously the link will be down below under this YouTube video, so join the Discord server for more information. With that, thank you all very much for tuning in for our first broadcast of the Adrian Show. I have been your host, Adrian J. Williams, and good night to you all. Thank you.